A cost overrun doesn't kill your career. How you handle the next 48 hours does. Your project is 3 months in, and finance just flagged your budget report. You're 22% over. Your sponsor wants answers by Friday, and your team doesn't even know yet. This is the moment that separates project managers who survive from those who get sidelined. Stay with me, I'm going to walk you through exactly how experienced PMs handle cost overruns without losing their credibility or their project. The worst thing you can do when a cost overrun hits is pretend it's temporary. Most managers tell themselves the budget will correct itself next month. It almost never does. According to PMI's 2023 Pulse of the Profession report, projects that exceed budget by more than 10% rarely recover without formal intervention. So the first move is brutal honesty with yourself. Pull your actuals, compare them against your baseline, and calculate the true variance, not the optimistic version you'd prefer to show your boss. Break the variance down by work package so you know exactly where the bleeding started. Talk to your team leads individually before calling any group meeting. People tell you things in private they would never say in a status call. One senior PM I worked with discovered her overrun wasn't from scope creep at all. A vendor had been quietly billing at a higher rate tier for 6 straight weeks, and nobody caught it. You cannot fix what you haven't measured honestly. Facing the real number is painful, but it's the only foundation you can build a recovery on. Cost overruns don't just appear out of nowhere. Something triggered them, and it's usually one of 4 patterns. Scope expanded without a matching budget adjustment, the classic slow creep. Estimates were too optimistic when the project was first approved. Resource costs changed midstream, like contractors billing overtime that nobody formally approved. Or the timeline slipped and extended duration quietly inflated your fixed costs. Sit down with your schedule and your cost baseline side by side and map every change. Track every change request, every delayed milestone, every unplanned resource addition. A McKinsey study on large capital projects found that poor initial estimates account for nearly half of all overruns. That means the problem often started before the first dollar was even spent. Be honest about whether your original budget was realistic in the first place. If it wasn't, own that in your analysis. Stakeholders will respect your candor far more than they'll respect a polished cover story that falls apart under scrutiny. Once you know the root cause, you need options, not just one recommendation, but at least 3. This is where you protect your credibility as a leader, not just a reporter of bad news. Option 1 might be reducing scope to fit back within the original budget. Option 2 could mean requesting additional funding to deliver the full original scope. Option 3 might split the difference, decope the lower priority features and request a smaller budget top-up. Present all 3 to your sponsor with clear impact statements attached to each one. Spell out what gets delivered, what gets cut, and what the revised timeline looks like. Never walk into that conversation carrying only bad news and no path forward. I watched a program manager at a logistics company save a failing ERP implementation by proposing a phased rollout. It replaced the original Big Bang launch plan. The revised approach cost about 15% more than the original budget, but it started delivering value 3 months earlier. The CFO approved it in a single meeting because the business case was impossible to argue with. Remember, your job is not to absorb the overrun silently. Your job is to give decision makers real, informed choices. After your sponsor picks a direction, you need a formal new baseline. Not a mental note that the budget changed, a documented rebaseline. Update your cost management plan. Revise your estimate at completion and your estimate to complete. Set new earned value thresholds so you catch drift far earlier this time around. Tighten your change control process immediately. Every new request gets a written cost impact assessment before anyone approves it. Switch to weekly cost reviews, even if your organization normally runs them monthly. Shorter review cycles catch problems while they're still small enough to fix easily. Put a variance threshold in writing, say 5%, and agree with your sponsor that anything beyond that triggers an immediate conversation. This discipline isn't about being rigid or difficult. It's about making cost visibility an ongoing habit instead of something that only happens during a crisis. Here's what I want you to do in the next 10 minutes. Open your current project's budget tracker and compare your planned spend against your actual spend through today. If there's a gap forming, even a small one, write down the top 2 reasons why. That simple exercise takes almost no time and it has saved more projects than any expensive software tool ever has. Cost overruns are not career-ending if you catch them early and respond with clarity. The project managers who earn lasting trust aren't the ones who never go over budget. They're the ones who communicate honestly and act decisively when it happens. You've got this. That's a wrap, thanks for watching. If this gave you one idea you can use today, hit like and subscribe. See you in the next one.